Welcome to the Be Legendary podcast. This is a place where we will kill excuses, smash goals, and be legendary. Hosted by yours truly, BEAMER. First and foremost, thanks to all of you that have reached out after episode 1, shown love, shown appreciation for what we're all about. I have gotten a lot of questions that I do want to answer over the next couple episodes. So for me to be able to build a foundation, I want to take y'all back to where it all began. And that starts with my nickname, BEAMER. Believe it or not, that was not my God-given name by my parents. Okay, sorry to disappoint some of you. When I tell people BEAMER, they usually think I say Bieber. I mean, I am a believer, but let's be honest, I'm not going by Bieber, right? So it's BEAMER. Most of you probably don't even know where that came from. It's funny because most people assume my nickname's BEAMER because I drive one. Now, not yet. I think eventually that just has to happen. But that's like, you driving a Ford and your nickname's Ford or Nissan or Toyota. It actually derived from when I was younger. One of my brother's friends started calling me Sunbeam. And then it went to Beam and then BEAMER. Now my nieces and nephews, I think I'm about 17 right now. I lose track. They've given it some sort of derived meaning, right? There's Beam Dip, Uncle Beam Dip, BEAMER, Beam. All the above I answer to. But I remember specifically, I asked him why he nicknamed me that or where it came from. And he said, "You're always happy and beaming and lighting up a room." And so from the very beginning, that has been my mission. And I'll admit at times in my life, it hasn't always been that way. I've been divorced. I've been broke. I've been fired from a 6-figure corporate America job. It hasn't been all sunshine and roses. But you know what? My story isn't different than a lot of people's. We all have our own story. And that's what I want Be Legendary to be about. Is for those that come on, as well as myself, I heard once a long time ago that says, if you don't write your own story, somebody else will. When we all pass away, which is something that's inevitable, more than likely somebody else is going to write that story. And I told myself, no, I'm going to write my own story. Nobody's going to write it for me. And in this process of my journey, I have dreams and a vision that I've had to sacrifice things for. I've had to sacrifice family relationships. I've had to sacrifice time with friends and going home to visit my family because I know my big vision and my big dream, and that's to help as many people as possible. And that's no slight against where I'm from, because where I'm from made me. But I needed to be in an atmosphere and an environment that would bring out the biggest and best in myself. And so that's what I'm designed to do. And that's the purpose of this podcast. Number one, it's to give you a look inside me, get to know me a little bit better. I'm more than just a nice beard and a great fade on the haircut, charisma. I truly, sincerely care about growing and learning from everybody and their stories. And realistically, I think in sales and in business, which is my background, and every podcast we'll get into a little bit more in depth as to that. But I think this really started, I was probably about 4 or 5 years old, and I was going back from Utah to Minnesota with my grandpa's brother and his wife. And the story or the legend goes that we were going back east or to the Midwest, and my dad had given them some money to take care of, food, all that. And it's crazy to think back, we're in this Toyota Tacoma, and it had a camper shell on the back, and we were laying in the back of the camper shell driving on the freeway for 2 straight days. But I remember I was trying to get them to stop because I was thirsty. Sometimes nature calls, you need a thirst quench. And instead of saying, hey, I'm thirsty, or hey this, or hey that, or give me this, or give me that, I said, hey, Uncle Jerry. He says, yeah. I said, I need a little Pepsi on my breath. And as legend goes, they were quite enamored by that. They thought it was funny, so they stopped and gave me a Pepsi just for, being creative and to be able to bring it in a different light. And that's what I want to do with my message. That's what I want to do with the message of others, is to give a platform where we can have fun, we can enjoy life, and that other people can tell their story, because each of us do have one. And I think, to me, that's what gets me up every day. That's what brings joy to my soul. And so I think it's very, very important that you need to have a vision. And recently I had a pretty cool experience with a vision board. So at the company I'm at, we have this club that I started called the Power Club. And what the Power Club is, and I think this is going to form where Be Legendary came from and where it's going to go, is a club where it was about 5 to 10% of our employees joined on a weekly basis for a 1-hour call. Each call had a different topic, and what the group was designed for was to be a safe haven for learning and growth. Because no matter what your profession is, we all need to learn and grow and adapt to change to survive. And so the very first group call we did was on vision. And basically the assignment each person had was to make a vision board. And a lot of people talk about that and they're like, oh, that's cool, or I want to do that. But how many actually take the time to do that? And so 2 years ago, I was in the real estate industry and it flopped. I'd gotten my license, and I guess I just figured leads and people would want to call an expert like me that had been in the real estate game for 45 minutes. I was wrong, and I was running out of money. And so I came to this opportunity to sell solar, and it started door to door, which isn't very glamorous at all. And so long story short, after the past few years, been very successful, but I wanted to be able to add more to our employees. So with this Power Club, what we did is everybody shared a vision board. And I got the idea from when I was in real estate and I was doing a vision board, and I placed a car on there. It was a Cadillac ATS. It was white and all blacked out. And I thought, you know what, that's a vehicle I want. And I don't know how I'm going to get it, but I put it up there. And about after a few months, when I switched to doing solar, it disappeared. It was in my shop or in my garage in my house, and I didn't really look at it. Well, fast forward to December, which was a few months ago, I was scrolling online for a new vehicle, and without thinking about it, looking through several vehicles, and I found this vehicle. It was a white Cadillac ATS. And at the time, it didn't hit me that was the same one that was on my vision board. So I go test drive it. I couldn't believe how well priced it was. Got the vehicle for about $6,000 or $7,000 under Blue Book value. And literally 2 days after I bought it, I went to my storage unit because we were going to do this vision board for the Power Club. And I was like, well, I want to check out my vision board. And I pulled it out, and wouldn't you know, literally the exact same car was on my board. And that doesn't make me better than anybody else or special, but it really hit me that that's how important this is. Our eyes are the fastest healing organisms. And I don't think it's by coincidence, because you need to have a clear vision to be successful. And to kind of put a bow on it, and one of the coolest stories that I've heard about vision started with actually Steve Jobs. Now, most of us probably know about Steve Jobs and Apple, and they've pretty much made the world what it is today. But in the late 80s and early 90s, he was trying to recruit a man named John Sculley to come to work for him. Apple was a small company. They hadn't been super duper successful like they are now. And John Sculley worked for PEPSI, which was a top 15 job in the world. He kept calling John over a 2-year period, offering him more money, say, hey, can you help me out? Come lead Apple, trying to share his vision, but ultimately he kept offering more and more money. And I'm sure John asked himself, do I really want to be known for selling sugar water to teenagers? Or do I want to be known for changing the world? And that's going to take risk, and that's going to take getting out of your comfort zone, and that's going to take some failure. And realistically, with this podcast, that's what it's about. Being a positive voice for changing the world. And if my story and the stories of other people can help inspire you to find your path, that's success to me. That's what it's all about. There's a lot of exciting things happen here at Be Legendary Nation. There's a lot of swag we're coming out with, shirts, hats, all these other things. We're also working on some other ways to bring this directly to you and your organization, similar to what we did here. If you like what you've seen, feel free to share the Facebook page and subscribe to youtube.com/AndreAndersonAz. He's my man. He's the one helping me produce this and bring giving the people what they want. Lastly, for all of you that have been taking the time to watch this, thank you. And to be able to make sure it was worth your time, I challenge you to be able to create a vision board today, right now after doing this. Go online, Google some pictures of some things you want, put them together in a collage. We're actually going to share a couple on the next podcast episode. So I will be reaching out to some of you I know, and feel free to reach me on Instagram, LegendaryBeamer, on Facebook, Tyler Beamer Carlisle, Snapchat, LegendaryBeamer, and let's continue on this journey together. At the end of the day, to kind of put a bow on it, we have two choices in life. You can either keep selling sugar water to yourself and take these excuses and take these reasons why you can't do something, or you can go out and change the world and be legendary. What's it going to be?